Hello everybody, welcome to our latest episode of FPL Affairs, the podcast that discusses our 9-month-long love affair with FPL, including the ins and outs that keep us awake at night. In the latest of our FPL Idiots Guide videos, we look at blank game weeks, what they are and how to navigate them. We include our free hit guide and finish with our own free hit suggested teams should we choose to use the chip in the upcoming blank game week. Let's get cracking.
And there's Mo Salah. There goes Haaland. He's on his way again. He's hungry. He's scored. Ice cold precision from Palmer. Kayo Saka. That is a diamond of a goal.
Hello everybody, welcome to the latest FPL Affairs video with me, Matt, aka the FPL Affairs veteran, and alongside me, as always, is Jack, aka the Master. How are you?
Good, mate, you?
Not too bad. Delighted to bring the latest of our Idiots Guide to FPL series. And what we're going to focus on at time period is about the incoming blank game week and what they are, how to use them, etc., etc. And we'll finish with our free hits, which I think I'm actually just repeating what I said in the intro anyway. So, shall we get cracking?
Let's get cracking.
Yeah, the Idiot's Guide to Blank Game Weeks. Jack, what is a blank game week?
An FPL blank game week is a game week where at least one fixture from that week is rescheduled. Reasons why include weather. For example, the Everton versus Liverpool game in game week 15 got moved to game week 24. A fixture clash with the Carabao Cup final, which is similar to game week 29. Fixture clash with the FA Cup, previously from quarterfinals this season from the semis, game week 34, and unforeseen circumstances. For example, game week 7 a couple of seasons ago when Queen Elizabeth II died.
So when are they this season? As previously mentioned, Jack said game week 15 when Liverpool-Everton was postponed. The second one, game week 29, which is the clash with the EFL Cup final. Blank game week 34, which is the clashes with the FA Cup semi-final. And please note, though, that further blanks may occur largely in relation to weather or unforeseen circumstances.
So how do we manage our FPL teams in a blank? The main strategies used are forward planning. So in the game weeks leading up to the blank, use your free transfers to remove players that don't have a fixture and bring in players that have good fixtures in and around the blank. So from 24 to 25, you can roll up to 5 transfers since the start of this season. You can take points, hits, use 1 or 2 transfers more than your frees, so take a -4 or -8 to get 11 players. Any more hits are arguably not worth it. So play with only 9 or 10 available players. For example, don't replace your goalkeeper or bring in a third playing defender and concentrate on getting out 6 or 7 attacking players, midfield or forwards. Or you can use a chip, for example, the wildcard chip or the free hit chip, which we'll talk about on the next slide.
Yep, so the free hit chip, if you are not already familiar with it, it allows you to change your whole squad for one game week only. The next game week, your squad will return to the squad you had before activating the chip. So whatever your squad looks like at the moment, after activating the free hit and changing your team, once the blank game week is over, you would see the squad you have at this moment in time. The best predicted weeks for use of the free hit chip are generally blank game weeks and double game weeks. For example, this season, game week's 29 blank, and that's would generally be, rule of thumb for across blanks, is if you've got 8+ players that are unavailable. So, for example, in game week 29, if you had 8 or more players from Liverpool, Aston Villa, Newcastle, Crystal Palace that blank, then consider the free hit chip. In game week 34, likewise, if you've got a similar number of players that blank, so that's those playing in the FA Cup semi-finals, or alternatively, which many managers like to seek the upside of the free hit chip, is by using it in a double game week, which we'll focus on more so in the next Idiot's Guide we do. And those at the moment are forecast to be game weeks 33 and 36. And then you fill your 11 starting players with players that have 2 fixtures.
Okay, so specific game weeks. For example, blank game week 29. So this can be resolved by using a free hit as a quick fix, having used transfers from 25 onwards to remove blanking players, then wildcard in game week 30, 31 or 32. The benefit of using a wildcard, however, is that it prepares you for the double game week in 33.
And speaking of 33, double 33 and blank 34 are basically predicted to go hand in hand, as game week 34 clashes with the FA Cup semi-finals. The semi-finalists and their scheduled opponents will blank, and fixtures are likely to be moved either forwards into game week 33 or alternatively into game week 36. So please note, which I needed to mention to Jack earlier, those teams doubling in game week 33 are likely to be the same teams who blank in game week 34. Therefore, you'll need to use your chips to change your squad quickly. So whether that be wildcard or free hit, that will be whatever fits your squad at the time. And what we'll do now is Jack and I have both put together our own free hit drafts for blank game week 29. And should we start with yours?
Yeah, so I am currently on the strategy of using a free hit in 29, which we will talk about in our review and preview, in our preview video, which will be released later this week. But this is kind of where I'm at so far. So, Jose Sar's in goal, with Kirkez, Vardiol and Aina as the back three, Kluivert, Fernandes, Son and Gibbs-White as the midfield four, and Evanilson, Wood and Haaland captain. Currently on the bench is Onana as the reserve goalkeeper, and Burmo first sub, with Aït-Nouri and Mikalenko second and third sub. So, there's all sorts of different things you could do here. You could put Sales in goal and sort of play Aït-Nouri instead of Aina. Gibbs-White could be one of like Minte, or it could be Elanga. The other Forest winger, Hudson-Odoi. Kluivert could go to Semenyo. Son, I like Son because he's a differential. Not a lot of people are going to own him that aren't on free hit, for example. A lot of people are bringing in Bruno Fernandes, to be fair, but still think he's going to be quite low owned. Same with Haaland. I think my draft is based on not having players that are highly owned by players who aren't free hitting in 29, hence why Mbermo is on the bench. There's not a lot of, other than sort of Chris Wood and Kirkez, I guess, and Kluivert. So there's 3, but the rest of the team are hopefully full of players that are relatively low owned at the moment. So yeah, that's where I'm at so far. That'll probably change 1,000 times between now and the deadline. And most likely will probably look a lot like that one, but I would have gone all the way around in a circle between now and then.
Okay. interesting looking there. There's a few familiar names and also clubs, which we'll speak about when flicking onto mine. So my free hit draft, unlike Jack, I am not using my free hit this week. I'm navigating it using free transfers and possibly one hit due to my mix-up last week, which we'll go through in the preview following the review videos. I've got lined up Pickford in goal, simply because having watched the Newcastle game against them, West Ham do not look like heavy scorers at the moment, and Everton can be relatively decent defensively. So I've got Pickford in goal, back three of Gabriel, Vardiol and Milenkovic. So again, we've got Man City defender, Forest defender. In midfield, I've gone differential a bit really by selecting Phil Foden. That's one which may be different, to be honest. Bruno Fernandes, Cliver and Burmo I've currently got down starting, but it may well swap between him and Gibbs White and have Gibbs White starting and Burmo on the bench. Like Jack. Up front, same front three, Evan Nilsson, Wood and Captain Haaland. On my bench, I've got Jose Sarr, which Jack's starting. As mentioned, Gibbs White, who may go in for Burmo. Also got Aït-Nouri on the bench and Kirkes. So the kind of really, for me, if that was my free hit draft, it would be the benching headaches would be Burmo or Gibbs White, and then there would be which three defenders to play. Gabriel might be one that would be benched potentially. But yeah, that's the 15 I'd likely go with, I think.
Yeah, I think on a free hit, I think you need to decide if you are free hitting in game week 29, you need to decide whether you're going to go with a full differential 11 or go safe with putting in players like Gabriel, who are quite highly owned, and Burma, who are quite highly owned, Cliver, players like that, or whether you just try and find a blend in between of 3 or 4 solid players like you have and like I have, of like a Wood, Cliver and Burmo, Gabriel and maybe Milenkovic to a certain degree, so 4 or 5 solid, quite highly owned players, and then sort of playing around with the rest of the picks would be. But I mean, that all depends on rank. That all depends on chasing mini leagues and stuff like that. So just decide how risk adverse you want to be, if you do want to be, and then I guess pick accordingly. So maybe go for a Semenyo rather than Cliver, or go for a Langer rather than Gibbs White, or go for, I don't know, Nico
Hudson
Williams
Odoi,
over Malenko or Hudson and Deutsch. You know what I mean? Like just different players from different teams that are slightly lower owned.
I think really when looking at free hits and looking at our drafts, and it's really about focusing on which teams have good fixtures and identifying decent options from those teams. So looking at yours and mine, although some of the personnel's different, we've both got triple Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
We've both got a Brentford asset.
Triple Bournemouth.
We've both got triple Bournemouth as well.
The same three.
Man City assets. High scoring goalkeepers that are either, well, Pickford's quite high scoring at the moment, and then as Jose Sarr's got one of the better fixtures. So it is, and looking at those attacking fullbacks. So yeah, when planning your free hit, look at which clubs have got the best fixture
Mm.
and pick the best FPL assets from them. And as Jack said, try to get a blend of ones that are lowly owned amongst the general consensus for ownership, and picking up some of the differentials which only really free hitters will have.
Mm. I
So
think that's where I'm at. So, for example, I don't own Mbermo and I don't own Cliver in my initial team, my current team, or Wood for that matter. So to put those three in my free hit draft would essentially it would just put me a little bit at ease. For example, if Wood was to do well and Burma and Cliver were to do well, regardless of how well my free hit does, if Wood scores a brace, Cliver gets a penalty, and Burma scores, I'm going to really struggle to get a remotely decent green arrow, if a green arrow at all. So, based on their ownership. So, just take that into consideration when you're making it. Just try not to go full differential 11. I mean, the upsides are huge. Obviously, if Wood, Cliver, and Burmo and players like, I don't know, 8-0 will probably be quite popular this week as well. If they don't do very well, then your quid's in. But at the same time, if they do, which looking at the fixtures, I would expect the Bournemouth Brentford game to be quite a high scoring game, as well as Chris Wood would probably sort of have his way with the Ipswich back four. So just be aware of that. Really, you don't want to waste the chip on trying to be too clever and it tanking based on the fact that you just didn't really cover some of the bases.
I think really,
Neither of us have Cole Palmer, which is interesting.
yeah, that was an interesting note of point. But so we've effectively mentioned focus on the clubs that have got the decent fixtures and their options, and getting a blend between popular players and ones that would be good for that week, as well as getting players that are on form.
Yeah, I guess those would be my top tips. Our top tips.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's helped.
Yeah. So hopefully this idiot's guide to the idiots, Ari being myself and Jack, guide to blank game weeks. Hope that's helped and has been useful, and our free hit drafts have given you some players to think about and consider. If you think any of our options are completely bonkers, such as Phil Foden possibly, and actually some stats have shown up quite positive with number of goals and assists he's got this season. But anyway, that's going a slightly tangent. But if you want to share your thoughts, add them to the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the thumbs up to like us both on YouTube and on the Facebook page. So skip into how to get in touch. FPL Affairs on x.com, Facebook group FPL Affairs. The link may well be Fantasy Premier League FPL 1. Our channel at FPL Affairs, and Spotify long link, which I still can't remember, and it will be impossible to remember. So, Jack, being the master and with your rank, which will be covered in our review and preview videos, your final thoughts on what we've covered?
Just if you can get 9, I'd say 8 players minimum out. If you can get 8 players out and you're all right rank wise and you're not chasing anything, then maybe don't free hit anything less than 8. Or if you have to take hits to get more than 8, I probably would just free hit, like we said in the earlier slide. That would probably just be all I have to say, really, other than what we've just covered with regards to a blend and chasing differentials, but not too many.
Yeah, and as I said, Jack's using his free hit in this blank. I plan to use mine in the next one, and that will cover nearer the time as well as how our teams will look going into the weekend. So all that's left to say is keep your FPL affairs under wraps until the deadline, which this final thought doesn't actually seem to make much sense for an idiot's guide to some degree. But yeah, anyway, good luck with a blank game week and hope this video helps. Bye bye, everybody.